had been doing marriage equality work for a little while. I was board president. I was speaking, maybe it was 2008 or so. I had been traveling around the country and trying to convince our own community of the need for marriage mostly. But we were beginning now to reach out to our straight opponents and try to negotiate debates. Hofstra University called me. They were trying to set up a debate with Maggie Gallagher. At the time, Maggie Gallagher was the executive director of the National Organization for Marriage. So anyone that doesn't know who that is the direct opposite of marriage equality's initiatives. They contacted me, Hofstra did, because of my role as board president. So they wanted to get somebody comparable in the hierarchy, I guess, to Maggie Gallagher. So I immediately said yes, didn't think about it again, didn't care what the date was. I said, yes, I'll do it. Hung up and said, oh my God, I'm going to debate Maggie Gallagher. And immediately started thinking how I was going to approach this. I knew certain things that she would say. I went online, I watched some of her speeches. I visited their website. I wanted to make sure I was familiar with their rhetoric and the things that they would be saying. And I sat for a really long time thinking about how it was that, what angle was I going to take with her? Because there are a few angles around marriage equality. You could just simply say, it's my right, it's not related to religion, it's part of the government has to protect my family, and that's all well and good. But that wasn't Maggie's rhetoric. Maggie's rhetoric was that it was morally wrong for us to be married. Okay, that our children would suffer, and all of that kind of stuff. So the day comes, and I have a friend who is a videographer, and he used to come to a lot of my stuff. He actually made a documentary about our work in the end, and part of it has this debate in it. And he came to pick me up, and I came out of my house, and I had 2 shopping bags with me, and he's like, what is that? I said, these are all the studies that prove that a child raised by a gay family is no more or less competent than a child raised by a straight family. He's like, you're kidding, right? I'm like, some of them are repeats, don't worry, it's about volume. I've done a lot of public speaking, and I'm not generally nervous when I do that. But this was really big for our movement. And I think that on some level, at the moment, I felt like I was the only one in the room who realized how big it actually was. But the audience was mostly in favor of my side of the issue, progressives and that sort of thing. But I was afraid she would say something they would believe, basically. She didn't. They showed that awful commercial that her organization put together, The Gathering Storm. It was this ad about this horrible result of allowing gay people to marry. And when it ended, I said the thing that my friend has enjoyed using over and over in many of his little videos and things that he does. And that is, I have a lot to say about this, and none of it's good. The more confidence I built, the bigger my sighs were, and the more obnoxious my response, like in a very short way, pretty much telling her that her statement is ridiculous. And I shut her up. I was so impressed with myself, I have to tell you. She had nothing to say. At the end of the debate, she shook my hand and she said, the way I talk about marriage and the way I talk about my wife, I must have such a happy life, that she got divorced because her marriage wasn't happy. And I turned around and I told her, well, maybe you're a lesbian. And that's how the debate ended. At the end of it, I had started out with such apprehension and such nerves. I was afraid I wouldn't even be able to speak. And I wound up feeling so triumphant. I could still feel that feeling right now telling the story about how exuberant I felt that I shut her up. Oh my God, it was amazing. That was an amazing moment. We won. And nobody thought we ever would. And mostly nerves are what was keeping us from winning. And once we, as a group of activists, did the research and realized there's really no reason for them to say no, it gave us power. And I think that telling my feelings about that debate shows that, number one, I was not as confident as people think I am. And two, when you're right, pretty much.